Now that the dust has settled for The Acolyte, that we finally have the entire series in context, that no one can make the excuse, well, you have to wait for this to be explained, you have to wait to see how they do this. We finally have all 8 episodes of this $200 million disaster, and it's clear that the fans who were worried about this from the beginning, who for the past 4 years, when we saw that Leslie Headland was attached, Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, when we saw what they intended to do, the characters they wanted to bring in, the time era that this was set, all the potential issues that it could cause, all of our biggest fears were confirmed. The Acolyte is the worst Star Wars project that we have ever seen. And yet we see continuously that so many people around the production of this thing remain completely delusional. We've seen Leslie Headland, after every single episode, go out there and desperately try to do damage control, while the audience has made their voice clear. Now, despite the fact that we've seen it tick up a little bit, it went from, 14 to 17% over the past few days. Mostly, if you look into those details, it's review boosting from people who are trying to get on this hashtag renew the Acolyte. We need a season 2. Don't listen to the haters. Unfortunately, the ratings are abysmal. In terms of viewership, this is the least watched Disney Star Wars series in history. And honestly, it's not even close. That's saying something, considering some of the failures that we have seen. And now, once again, like we heard before the series even came out, we're starting to talk about how much better this is than other entries in Star Wars, where Leslie Headland said, we want to surpass the Phantom Menace in terms of fights, in terms of lightsaber fights. And you know what? If that's your goal, that's cool, because that's a really high bar. Despite some people having issues with the prequels, myself not being one of them, even the biggest prequel haters are forced to admit how fucking incredible some of the combat is, specifically when you look at something like Phantom Menace. You might not like the fact that Anakin was that young. You might not like the political part of it, but when it comes to lightsaber duels, even the biggest prequel haters can't deny that. Well, that's what Leslie Headland was setting out to do, but what we saw was nowhere close to that. Look at what Leslie Headland is now saying. Now that the dust is settled, now that everybody's seen everything, listen to this shit. The Acolyte showrunner Leslie Headland believes Star Wars series final fight scene tops The Phantom Menace and The Matrix. The people who are making this shit are truly fucking delusional. You think because you put a little bit of slow motion in there that at some points doesn't fucking make any sense what they're doing, that they would choose to use their feet or fists instead of their lightsaber, that Saul would just fucking deactivate his lightsaber in the middle of combat, put it on his belt, and decide to do a fucking slow-mo force thing when he could have kept his lightsaber and it just because you thought it looked so fucking cool. It's a fucking joke. Yet this is what these people actually think. Listen to this delusional lunatic. Taking place between the Sith Chimera and the Jedi Master Saul, the clash in question sees the two Force users going all out in a life-or-death duel fueled by their respective romantic and parental feelings for Osha. That's a whole different story. The battleground on Brendok Ruins that once played host to this year's resident Space Witch Coven, lesbian Space Witches, by the way, featuring lightsaber throws and anime-inspired dashes. While not the best fight ever put to film, it's admittedly one of the better ones seen throughout The Acolyte, if not solely for the fact that it's actually possible to see what the combatants are actually doing. Yeah, maybe that is true. Maybe that one is the best one we saw in this series, but this is what these people think. They truly think, that's the worst thing about The Acolyte. It's not just that it's dog shit, it's that it's dog shit made by people who think they're so fucking incredibly smart and talented that they've actually made something good. It's so pretentious. However, according to Headland, Chimera and Soul Showdown is not just one of the best fights of the series, but of Hollywood overall. Speaking of her creative process in bringing the scene to life, Headland told Collider's Maggie Lovett, second unit director Chris Cohen and I, we were shooting for immortality. We were like, we're gonna fucking do it, or we're fucking going for it. We want to top Duel of the Fates from Phantom Menace. We want to top the train station in The Matrix. We will settle for nothing less. I'll leave the viewer as to whether we achieved that or not, but in my heart of hearts, I was like, we achieved that as far as I'm concerned. You actually think you're fucking better than George Lucas, don't you? You actually think that you are better than the creator of Star Wars, that you have made something better than we've seen in Star Wars. You actually think, and that's why we've seen this complete retextualization of Anakin's birth, of the Jedi in general. George Lucas, that guy doesn't really know what he's doing. We're better than he is, and we're going to show everybody. She actually thinks that the lightsaber duels that were put into play here are better than what we saw in The Phantom Menace. That is fucking embarrassing, and it goes to show where these people's heads are truly at. Interestingly, it seems Headland's decision to make Chimera vs. Soul her magnum opus came rather late in the Acolyte's production timeline, as earlier in the interview, the showrunner revealed the Sith originally played no parts in the series finale. Initially, we weren't going to see him in episode 6. In episode 6, she was going to leave him, go do her thing, then return to him at the end of the last episode. I saw Manny's screen testing the helmet cloak. I saw him learning his fight choreography, and I thought, there will be riots in the streets if I do not end this show with him versus Soul. That was clear. You know, one thing that actually made that final fight scene, like, not as powerful is the fact that we all knew it didn't matter. That this was just a distraction, that it really fucking had no meaning. It didn't matter. We knew what was going to fucking happen. So that was a big, big thing that made this feel like nothing. And now it makes sense why it felt like that. There was no purpose in the story for this. This was thrown in and cobbled together last minute because, oh, wouldn't this just be fucking so cool? And this is what you end up getting. Someone who thinks they have created better content in the Star Wars universe than George Lucas could ever do. Someone who thinks that their fight sequence, their fight choreography, not only better than what is heralded as one of the best duels in all of Star Wars, but also better than something like The Matrix, that you are just immortal now in Hollywood because of what you did. This is a show that's not even showing up on the Nielsen ratings anymore. No one is watching. No one is watching this dog shit, and virtually everyone despises it. It is a complete and total failure, and the people that are making this are delusional. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.